you really want, I know let me ask you gone. One can bring me now, so me now, the iPhone feel falling like a bird, falling like Alonzo. Can't anymore, tired to pull my heart. She said she just wanna fade away, by two for gone. 未知道没有人会理会 ，but I can't be honest.
Stand by. We're in Mexico City traffic, people. This is the real deal. My name's Asa. I wrote 6 sermons. It's an Audible series starring Stephanie Hsu from Everything Everywhere All at Once. I've been writing for a while. I'm currently working on a horror novella. I have wanted for some time to take you through the great libraries of Mexico City. There are several. I've been to some, and I figured this video would get me out to go see some more. The libraries are this amazing metaphor for a place where knowledge is synthesized, organized, put together, a resource where you can go to. And I realized that I could make a video about everything I know about getting better at writing and kind of a larger system for doing that. So that's what I'm going to do today, is share this way that I think about writing. It's like more than any one video or program or class or writing X thousand words a day. It's kind of a way of life. I broke it down. There's 7 steps, 7 things that I do. And I realized that I do these things over and over and over again. And I've done them year after year after year. And gradually, poco a poco, that is what is making me better. Phase 1 of this, 1 of 7, would be consume, right? Which most obviously would mean read, but I think also could mean like watch movies or go to plays or see art. You know, I try to read the things that I want to write. Stephen King, Stephen Graham Jones, and Samantha Schweblin, and all these, you know, I want to be eating all that. You know, you are what you eat. And so I'm constantly reading that stuff because that's the kind of work that I want to make. So, you know, I think consuming is the first phase. It's like find media that you want, that just turns you on and gets you going and like makes you want to sit down and go and write. Yeah, that's the first thing. So we're almost here at the library. This is Biblioteca Vasconcelos. So the next thing you do, in my opinion, is to analyze, right? So you find the media that you really love, you consume it, you're into it, you find your sort of North Stars as the artists that you love and aspire to be, and then you kind of try to pick them apart and figure out why they work, right? So it's kind of like the first time you read them, you fall in love with them. The second time you read them, you're trying to open the hood and figure out what it is that they're doing. And so back there at Vasconcelos, I was watching the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet. I'm planning a video about structure and want to use that as my example. And I love that movie. It has a classic midpoint where Romeo kills Tybalt. This is like a great structural reference. And what I was doing there for the first time was looking at the actual screenplay. So that was something that I had never done before, was look at the Baz Luhrmann screenplay, cross-reference it with the film, and to try to figure out how it's working. It's almost like you're going through and you kind of like are listening to when you feel something, and it's like, oh wait, I'm feeling something, I got to figure out why I'm feeling it. That's what I'm trying to do today with Baz Luhrmann, like that, you know, shot by shot by shot, like, okay, what is the needle that's being thread on my heart, as it were, during that scene. Yeah, so part 1, consume great media. Part 2, analyze great media. And I guess since we're here, I might as well go on to the third thing. Third thing I think is like theory. And theory just means kind of any kind of formal practice, any kind of formal education, whether it's, you know, classes at school or going to a screenwriting program or watching YouTube videos. And then what you start doing is you start integrating. I guess for me, what I'm finding is kind of this cycle repeats itself, right? It's like you read or you watch and you analyze, and you have certain tools for doing that. Then you learn a bunch of theory because you're reading and studying and taking classes and getting mentors and just watching YouTube videos. You're doing all the things, and then you start reading again and you like are reading better, and then you analyze again and you're analyzing better. And like as the years pass, all of a sudden stuff is just getting in your bones. One thing I should say about the consumption thing, that's another thing that's really true, is that just the more you read, all of a sudden all these devices or plot twists or kind of all the things you have to do while writing, characterization, theme, blah, 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 they just start getting in you because you're so inundated with good material that you stop thinking about some of these things and they just start working on you, working in you and through you in your own work. And so that's another piece of the consumption part that I didn't talk about before, which is to say that even without analyzing strictly by consuming, you're starting to learn at a deeper level, at kind of a muscle memory kind of level. I also really think that there's a lot to be said with cross-disciplinary theory and training. Fiction writers have so much to learn from playwriting classes because it's so dialogue forward. Screenwriters have so much to learn from fiction writers. Like, I don't know, just find the kind of theory out there, eat it all up, and just learn all the different ways that people tell stories. And then you can kind of just continue to sort of cross-reference that in your own analysis, in your own stuff that you're consuming, and then of course in your own writing eventually, right? Like, that's the vision. That's how all of this stuff comes together. And I mean, you really, like, the sky's the limit. I mean, I went to journalism school and did journalism for several years. And, you know, in journalism, they kill all your adverbs, which, you know, they tell you to do that in fiction. Do we listen? Of course not. In journalism, they're like, no, they just cut it out. Anyway, you know, so it's just like, I don't know, there's so much to learn on the theory front, and kind of, you should constantly be learning it. I try to constantly learn it because it's always the stuff you know, but somebody can explain it in a new way that might unlock something and, you know, just kind of push you forward and deepen your understanding just a little bit more. You know, for me, so much of what this is about is kind of seeing the process of getting better at writing holistically, in that, like, it's not one little thing. It's not one mentor. It's not one draft. It's like such a process that takes forever. And I actually have gotten to this place where I feel liberated that I might not ever be great. I might not be as great as these greats I aspire to. I probably won't be. And it's actually when you kind of let that go and focus on the sense of vocation about it, like, for me, that's just been a game changer. You know, like Baldwin said, all I want in life is to write well and be a good man. And it's like, you know, I don't know, make it a principle rather than something that you have to master. It's like, make the act of mastering, the attempt of mastering the thing. Because you never will, and you can just keep going and going and going. But if you like go around this circle of like consuming good stuff, analyzing it, increasing your theory, and we'll get to 4, 5, 6, and 7, you know, eventually things will be good, and you'll die having made stuff you're proud of. Which I know this is a vlog, but hey, let's get real here, people. Okay, we're almost at the other library, and at the other library we are going to get to the fourth thing, which is writing itself. Really, there's not much to say about it besides you have to do it, whatever it takes. And everyone has their own ways of doing it. I guess one thing that I really learned, having a little bit of a background in journalism, is you really can usually write even when you think you can't. And this notion of inspiration, I really sort of side with the school of thought that you've got to find your own inspiration, because, you know, you're on deadline. And so sometimes you just got to pull that out of you. And I think the same is true of writing fiction. You know, personally, but, you know, to each their own. Anyway, that's the fourth thing in the mix, right? Is like, if you want to get better at writing, you have to write. This is kind of the most obvious one, kind of speaks for itself. And like, yeah, and so what does that mean, share your work? I think it means, you know, the first step is have the courage to show anyone something that you've worked on. You know, obviously, if you're writing anything that's any good, it's going to have you in it. It's going to be vulnerable. You know, that's kind of the first tier of sharing. And then you're going to go beyond that, maybe kind of friends who you know will be in your corner. And then you can go another tier and maybe reach out into some kind of like professional circle of sharing, right? Like, whether it be other writers, other author tubers, other professionals, classmates, students, teachers. You have start building like a professional circle to share your work, and then eventually you publish your work, whether that's self-publish, traditionally publish, whether it's a book, a TV show, anything. You put it out there, and this series of sharing work is how you find out what it is you're doing. It's how you get the affirmation to keep going. The sun is crazy, and it's how it's like the whole point, right? Like, I mean, maybe not. Like, some people do like to kind of write for themselves, but I mean, I think that it's a gift. If you're compelled to write, then you probably have something to say, and it would be great if other people experience that, right? So I think that's kind of the fourth phase. You fall in love with the material, the media, you start to analyze it to learn how it works, you start to study it, theory, you get principles and best practices and all the knowledge and wisdom that years and years of storytelling have provided, and then you bring it out into the world. At first your mom, your friends, your classmates, YouTube, and you share what you've got. And yeah, I mean, it's really hard to do sometimes. It's really scary, and it really can lead to failure, which is really the final penultimate point here in this cycle of getting better at writing is failing. And I think it's important to say that anytime you finish something and share something, that is a success, right? We're assessing these things on different terms. There's a sense of completion that should be celebrated. But in any way, shape, or form, a book, will be incomplete. I don't know, there's that famous quote, novels are never finished, they're abandoned. I don't remember who said it. But even the greats, even the masters, these things are never really finished. There's always failings. There's always an imperfect sentence, a weak adjective, something somewhere that could be better. And I think it's important to realize that that's all part of it, that like the fail is the thing that means you tried something. And I guess I would just share a little bit about my own career briefly. I mean, I fail all the time, at least professionally. I mean, artistically, obviously, right? I mean, we're all struggling to get something on the page that moves someone and makes someone feel something and think something. But I mean, professionally, I'll put some screenshots up. These are all rejections I received in the last year alone, in the last 12 months. So it's like, if I went back farther, I don't even know how many rejections I could find. So again, we're kind of bleeding things together here. What is failure? What is success? But in terms of the hustle, if you're trying to put a roof over your head doing this, failing is definitely par for the course. And you don't have to look far to know that almost all writers went through that and continue to go through that. You're only as good as your last work. So I saw recently that famous Ira Glass quote going around online. It made me think of like when I learned it back in journalism school. He gave this famous talk or wrote this essay. I can't remember the context, but he says there's this big gap between your taste and your ability at first. When you start doing something, you know what's good because you have good taste, because you have the sort of talent and the vision, but you don't have the skills to execute it. And I think that's where this fail piece really comes in. You consume the media you like, you have your great tastes, you analyze it, you're learning, you're going to school, you're studying it, you're watching all the best YouTube videos, getting the theory down, you're sharing it, you're building out a better and better group of people to tell you about your work. The feedback is getting better, not only in the quality of the feedback, but you're getting, hey, better feedback. This is really strong, keep going. But you're still not to that vision, the masterpiece that you have in your head, or the one you go to the theater to, and you just walk out breathless, undone. And that's what we're going for, but we're not there. And that kind of brings me to the final step of this cycle, fail better. You go through every step I just described. You read and you study and you learn and you share all over and over and over again, and you make something that's like so good to the best of your ability, but it still falls short. And then you just keep going. And so, you know, that's why I'm here on this YouTube channel. I never thought I'd have a YouTube channel, but I've recently, you know, had like success, and then was like kicked around a little bit. Not kicked around, it just, the success didn't stick around, and I have come back to a place of just, hey, listen, like there's so much to learn. There's so far you can go. You know, the wins I had went to my head, and from those rejections that you just saw, you know, they're no guarantee of more. You know, if you made it this far in the video, thanks. You know, because I feel ready to fail better again, and it's thanks for listening to that. Oh my god, I'm sorry, I forgot finally, the fail better idea. That's from Beckett. Fail better. I'm gonna put it up there. I can't remember the exact passage, but we gotta give credit where credit's due here. So, one last time. Read good stuff, analyze it, learn theory, write, share, fail again.
你是我爱的太傻，看又挑明好路啦。我拿 on the block， 他们叫我 goat。我生涯不知道不老，我身边不止一个 hoe。危险就是这个新朋友有98个，他们想。